But we all know that tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, and I think that I would be somewhat remiss and forfeit an opportunity to draw wisdom from those years and that experience. Some of you were perhaps even too young to remember it in real time, in real life, but we are all aware of the story. But today, I want to weave a tapestry of the parentheses of 5 years of my life, from the time I was 12 years old until the 17th year of my life. In doing so, I'm hopeful that the story of those 5 years will bring us closer to the walk of and the desire for peace among all people, among all nations, all races, and all religions. It seems to be brewing in a powerful and profound way as we are seeing and experiencing it today. It is also my hope that in sharing this story, that you will somehow have a better understanding of the man that I am today and what has brought me to this chair. The civil rights movement began when I was 3 years old in 1954. It was not until the 60s that I became aware, or more aware, of the movement. And by the time I was 12 years old in 1963, I was fully engaged with its passion. We watched it reported with incident videos on the evening news as Walter Cronkite reported on the latest developments. It broke my heart watching it all unfold on national TV. The first major event that occurred during that 5-year slice of my life, when on the 22nd of November, 1963, the principal at Child Street Elementary School here in Athens came over the intercom with the announcement that John F. Kennedy, our president at the time, had been assassinated. Again, I was 12 years old. And I would have to admit to you that from that day on, my sense of safety and security changed for a lifetime. Again, and on the evening news, our trusted public servant, old Walter, was quite emotional as he replayed and reported the event and shared reel after reel, taped videos, vividly revealing, showing the tragedy and horror of such a sad day that it was on that day. It was also in 1963 that an experience occurred right here in Athens, Georgia, when the first Black students integrated the all-white public schools. It was, and again, an event that occurred at the same Child Street Elementary School. And that too, for that day and that time, and a young boy, was a major event. I recall watching through the windows of the old school's second floor as a lone school bus pulled up to the sidewalk, carrying the first Black students who stepped off the bus and walked in to a historical moment, a milestone that too changed history forever. I recall there were 5 Black students who stepped off the bus that day. One of them was Marjgerie Green, someone that I befriended and remained good friends with until our graduation from high school in 1969. And by this time, 1963, the civil rights movement was fully engaged, resulting in a very volatile, intense energy within and particularly our southern states, most notably Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and sadly Georgia. The energy was quite intense, polarizing, hostile, and quite often violent. I wish I could say that some of that energy that played out in real time, in real life, was not as hostile as I had imagined. And sadly, I was wrong about that. Now, stay with me here, as it is my prayer that these not so random events and experience of my lifetime will fall into place into something relevant for today. I'm almost embarrassed to admit, but to be honest, my father, his brother, my uncle, owned and operated a service station in downtown Athens. Sometime along the way, I found an almost obsessive curiosity at some of the things that I saw and did not understand, such as at the service station, there were 3 bathrooms, over which each door hung a metal sign designated men, women, and coloreds. There were 2 water fountains, over which there hung yet 2 more signs, whites and coloreds. And then there was Willie, the lot boy, as he was spoken of by my father and my uncle. He always sat on the curbing outside of the building, even in the rain and even in the cold, when and where he would find a dry spot in an unheated garage. There were 2 predominantly all-white theaters in Athens at the time: the Georgia Theater, where it still stands today, and the Palace Theater on College Avenue, where there is now a parking deck. Mind you, both theaters had an abundance of seats on the stage level and a rather small and crowded balcony above. And that is where the Black people sat, as the whites sat below. I did not understand these things, these strange and perplexing signs that separated and split societies and cultures into a space of hatred and violence, simply as a result of the color of one's skin. I did not understand it then, and I do not understand it today. And so I asked, Daddy, why is this? It's just the way it is, son, was his best answer. It's just the way it is. And that's the way that it was in 1963 when Dr. Martin Luther King rose to the position that our native people would call the head man of the civil rights movement. And by 1965, racial tensions had risen to an unprecedented level as the fires of racism burned high and hot. It was in Selma, Alabama, that those fires were fueled by a justified Dr. King, who began a voting campaign rights walk from Selma to Montgomery. And on February 1st, 1965, Dr. King and a respectfully large group of constituents and supporters were arrested in Selma for not having proper permits. It was in that jail cell that he penned what is now a rather historical letter to the people, noting that there were more Negroes in jail with him at the moment than there were on the entire voter rolls of the state of Alabama. And that was true. Once released from jail, Dr. King and his fellows, a crowd estimated to be 600 people, continued their march to Montgomery, when on the 7th of March 1965, they crossed over the river on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where they were brutally and violently attacked by the state police, an event which is known now as Bloody Sunday. And again, there was our dear friend Walter, showing all of us pictures and images of the attack. Televised image of the brutal attack presented Americans, an international audience, with horrifying photos and videos of marchers left bloodied and severely injured, and so roused support for the walk to Montgomery. Amelia Boynton, who had helped organize the march and was as well a participant, was beaten unconscious. A photograph of her lying on the Edmund Pettus Bridge appeared on newspapers and news magazines around the world, and I remember them well. Some things one never forgets, nor should they. Linda Blackman Lowry, age 14, was brutally beaten by a police officer. She required 7 stitches above her right eye and 28 on the back of her head. The late John Lewis suffered a skull fracture and bore scars on his head from the incident for the rest of his life. In all, 17 marchers, were hospitalized and 50 others treated for lesser injuries. And by the time the marchers had reached Montgomery, 4 had been killed and too many to count injured. And all of this within the echo of Dr. King's "I Have a Dream" speech at the Lincoln Monument in Washington, D.C. That infamous speech was perhaps one of those change and shift moments during my lifetime, especially within the 5-year parentheses that I'm speaking about today. I remember hearing it live. His political rhetoric soon was caught up in the banter and cadence of the Southern Baptist preacher that he really was. I have a dream, almost sung as a song. I say to you today, my friends, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering in the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of peace, freedom, and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day in Alabama, with its vicious racist, with its governor having his lips dripping with words of interposition and nullification, one day, right here in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream. This will be the day when all God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies in Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. And let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every city, every hamlet, from every state, from every city, will we be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men, white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Great God Almighty, we are free at last. And while that speech, one that inspired many, including myself, was just a distant, though recent echo, when on April 4th of 1968, Dr. King stood on the balcony of his hotel room in Memphis, Tennessee. And it was there and then Martin Luther King fell to an assassin's bullet. I was 16 years old. And as he had done faithfully for many years, old Walter sat in front of a TV camera and reported the news of the tragedy. And I'm sorry to say that not everyone grieved this loss of life. 2 months later, almost to the day, and 1 month before my 17th birthday, Senator and presidential candidate Robert Kennedy was likewise felled by an assassin's bullet. I shared his brother Ted's eulogy with you last week. As he was spoken of and spoken about, part bears repeating for the relevance of this story yet again today. His brother Ted's words still echo in my memory as clearly as they reverberated within the cathedral. My brother need not be idealized or enlarged in death beyond what he was in life. To be remembered simply as a good and decent man who saw wrong and tried to right it, saw suffering and tried to heal it, and saw war and tried to stop it. And that is a character worthy of our emulation today. So within the brief whisper of 5 years, 1963 through 1968, my life and everyone and everything contained within those 5 years was changed forever. For everything and everyone I had believed and trusted and relied upon, depended on, was shattered like broken glass scattered around the ground. It left me with a void. And once again, I asked, Daddy, why is this? That's just the way it is, son, was no longer a viable or acceptable answer. And that was a lot for a country to experience in just a few short years. It was a lot for a small boy of 12 to experience as well. But such as was my own personal experience. 5 years that changed and altered the course of our nation's history and had a major and profound effect on me and motivated and compelled me to do something. It was a time in my life that was filled with controversy and violence, and I could no longer accept or agree with that's just the way it is, knee-jerk reaction and response. It took me to Emory University's School of Theology, where for 3 years I studied. It brought me into 13 years ordained ministry in the United Methodist Church. And years later, it compelled me to found and start this church and this fellowship, built upon the foundation of the 7 sacred teachings: humility, honesty, courage, respect, truth, wisdom, and love. And how it has captured my heart, the monk's walk for peace, and how it has touched my soul. And perhaps this might help explain some of the fascination and fixation I have over it all. They've inspired me to become more of a man of peace, kindness, compassion, and mindfulness. Now think about this for a minute. Not for one moment do I believe that the routing of the monk's walk for peace was a matter of circumstance, convenience, and clearly not an accident. For in a universe this large, remember, there are no accidents. Their walk has taken them through the vulnerable states of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, some of the hottest states in the midst of the civil rights movement. At many times and in many places, the monks have followed and continued the route of the iconic I Have a Dream years, and in the footsteps of Dr. Martin Luther King. On December 19th of 2025, the monks entered Alabama, boldly and peacefully walked into the city of Selma, Alabama. They walked across the Alabama River on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where 60 years later, it was a scene of hatred, prejudice, racial injustice, violence, and tragedy. And they did so with prayer, a song, chanting, and gently and peacefully spreading the petals of their flowers into the Alabama River below. Thousands of awakened souls made their way to stand and walk with the monks in Selma, with a desire simply to be in their presence in a passion of peace. Departing Selma, they continued their walk, as did Dr. King and his constituents, on the same route to Montgomery, Alabama, arriving there on the 23rd of December. And surely this was not accidental, nor a matter of coincidence. I believe it was very carefully and strategically planned that way. For me, the walk of peace has been healing. It has been an experience of reconciliation and restoration, restoring a certain faith in humanity and a certain hope that we are closer than ever in fulfilling and manifesting the dream so eloquently spoken of and about through the brief life of Dr. King. He was only 39 years old when he left us. And like the civil rights march for freedom eventually arrived in Washington, D.C., So will the monks sometime mid-February. I see this as a reweaving the tapestry of history, restoring years of brokenness, years of racial prejudice and social injustice through and with their message of hope, peace, love, and kindness. Their walk has captured the hearts and attention of not just our country, but literally all over the world. Is it a matter of coincidence that the walk continues and falls on Martin Luther King Day? A day in which we honor and celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. King? I think not. For as thousands, perhaps millions of people will gather tomorrow for parades and celebrations, so will thousands, perhaps millions of people will line the streets of North Carolina and Virginia and on to Washington to be in the presence of the venerable monks and hear and receive their message of peace. And those who come will walk away with the inspiration: today is going to be my peaceful day, with a motivation to live life differently moving forward. The experience of the many who have heard that message, and for those yet to hear, is one that compels us to change, to be different, to do something. It's taken 60 years for us to get here. It began when I was 12, and today I'm knocking on the door of 75. It's been a slow process and a long journey to get here, but we are closer than ever before to the possibility of settling into a more peace-filled life for all people everywhere. It was Leo Tolstoy who once said, "Everyone thinks about changing the world, but no one ever thinks about changing himself." The people are thinking now. We are awakening, and somehow we are finding the motivation and the desire to change, to do something, to foster and promote this peace movement that is falling on the people in such a profound way. Tolstoy was right about change. For as we have established many times, the change must begin within the self. The days of somebody ought to do something are over. And the flame of peace is replacing an old paradigm that no longer serves us very well. It has been ignited within us, and now it is up to us to carry the torch forward as we continue our journey of and in life. I close today with a good story. I have no doubt that maybe I shared this with you once before, but it's a story of a young father working from home on a perfect and pretty spring afternoon. As the father worked, his son burst into the home office with the excitement, "Dad, it's such a beautiful day out. Let's go play catch." The father replies, "Not now, son. I'm busy working. But I promise when I am done, we'll go out and play together." As kids do a few minutes later, he comes yet again, pleading, "Dad, it's such a beautiful day." Let's go out and play catch together. Trying the father's patience now, he replies again, a bit more sternly, "Son, I've told you I'm busy working, and when I'm finished, I assure you we'll go out and play together." It was not long after that the boy returns again with the same plea and the same request. By now, the father is frustrated and a little angry. Looking around, he devises what he thinks is a rather clever plan to occupy the boy's attention long enough for him to finish his work. Over in the corner was a stack of National Geographic magazines. And having remembered reading the latest edition, he recalled a centerfold fold out, a map of the world in the latest publication. The father removed the centerfold map of the world, took scissors, and cut it into hundreds of pieces, hands the son a roll of Scotch tape, and says to the boy, "Now, son, when you can put the world back together, we'll go out and play a good game of catch." Convinced it would take hours for the boy to accomplish the task at hand, he settled back into his work. Amazingly, it was not long before the boy came once again, this time with the map of the world put back together and restored, piece by piece, taped together with Scotch tape. Now, the father was astonished. He marveled, "Son, how did you manage to do that so quickly?" With a smile, proudly and passionately, the boy explained, "Dad, it was really quite easy. For you see, on the other side of the map of the world, there was a picture of a man. And when I put the man back together, the whole world fell into place." Today is the day that we begin putting the man back together. And with the past enthusiasm and inspiration of men like Dr. King, and now the message the monks are spreading across that nation, we truly have an opportunity to do exactly that, and do so in a good way, step by step, piece by piece, 1 mile at a time. And we do so by first putting ourselves back together as men and women filled with the character of love, kindness, compassion, peace, and mindfulness. For once we restore the man, our whole world will fall into place. And that is my desire and my prayer for me and for you today. The inspiration and the instructions to do so are falling all around us. Now is the time to change ourselves, and in so doing, change the world, one piece, one broken reconciliation at a time. And so may it be with us. So may it be with me. For it is my good prayer that the one day that Dr. King envisioned and spoke about will be manifested on this day. That the dream and vision of Crazy Horse and his seventh generation prophecy, which calls us, this generation, to be instruments of change and shift, reconciliation, healing, and restoration to a world longing for the light again. May it be so among us. I hope. Let us come now to our time at the altar. Today, the fire of our letting go bowl burns brightly and gives us the opportunity to release and let go of those things that no longer serve us well. Come now and let us pray together.